Hey, hello again, guys. Welcome once more to my YouTube channel. Um, and in today's video, I am going to show all the new people out there how to set up an altar. It's been a lot of questions posed lately in witcheschat.com, where I do my weekly telecast, from new people how they're supposed to do an altar, what would be appropriate. Okay, so here I'm going to explain it. Now, as you can see, I've got this simple wooden wicker end table. Excuse me, my voice is a little bit rough. But anyway, we got a simple wooden wicker table, end table that was for a bed. So I got this little thing now. And I had a problem with this at first. It had all these interwoven things on top, which made it quite tricky to balance things on it. Every time I moved the table a little bit, it got bumped. I got things falling over on me. So I had to improvise. And I had to find something that would give me a flat surface to work with. So I found a board in my house. A simple board like this, and I just set it right on top of there just like that. So now I have a flat surface to work with. The stuff that I set on there will remain sturdy and they won't get knocked over so easy. And with this table, at least with this one, and with any altar really, it's a good idea if you just have shelving on it. That way you can keep all your witchy stuff all in one place. And that's what I have here. You can see the one shelf here, and then below that I've got another one. So I keep all my witchy supplies there. Next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to throw a cover over it. Some people might not want to. I mean, you know, if you've got a really great looking table already, it's got a really nice top on it, really nice decorative style, maybe you don't want a cover. Maybe it doesn't need to be. In my case, though, you know, I want to have it covered. So in most of my altars that I've ever made, I've always had some sort of covering. Usually it's a black cloth like this one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spread this black cloth over it. Oh, I got the wrong side. I got to flip it around. It's got a lot of candle wax melted on it. So I'm just gonna spread this out over the altar, just like that. I'm just gonna press it to the back like this, so it looks nice. Flatten out. Now I'm a little bit obsessive, maybe. You know, I try to make it as perfect as possible, because to me it's not just simply about a spiritual expression. It is also a place, an altar, or a temple maybe even, for which the god and goddess are represented. So I personally would like to keep it as neat as possible so that I can represent them as appropriately as possible. So I have that. Okay, and the next thing, after I have that set up, now everybody is going to have different decorative things for their altar. It's going to happen, natural selection. So I have a beautiful centerpiece on my altar that I keep there, and this little thing, I had a question the other night during my telecast. I was showing the altar, and one of the people in there asked me about the centerpiece. And at the time, the center candle, the one I keep in the center, was kind of blocking it a little bit, so I couldn't really show it very well. So in this video, I'm going to show it for everybody. Okay, and see, this is my beautiful centerpiece. And I can only assume that one time, it used to have running water in the bottom here. Because in the back, there's a little motor. It's got the wires disconnected now, but there's a motor, and I'm presuming you used to pump water through this thing. Something you might find in a cold shop somewhere. And it's a really beautiful item to me. I love it. Got two beautiful gargoyles on either side. act as guardians for my guardians and protectors for my altar. And then the favorite part of this is right here. The stag is represented right here. I think that's what really was the capper on receiving this this piece. Someone had given it to me, and as soon as I saw the representation of the stag on the back, I was like, "Oh yes, gotta have that. Got to have that." So that is my beautiful centerpiece, which I set right down there. I try to get it as centered as possible. You know, again, that might be a little obsessive-compulsive behavior, but who cares? My altar. At any rate, next are going to come your God and Goddess candles. Now, as you can see, mine are white, and excuse me, I try to keep out of the camera. But yeah, these are white and represent the God and the Goddess. And that would be the God on the left-hand side, Goddess on the right. And in my tradition, you always want to have the candles represent the God and the Goddess. Always, always, always. So we have those, and you could also even add a little measure of power to your candles as they represent the God and Goddess. They're not for spell work, but since they do represent them, you can draw. And I do it with a fingernail. I put a pentagram on all of my candles that I put on my altar. I inscribe a pentagram into the candle using my fingernail. You can use a small knife if you're not comfortable. You know, you might, if you're uncomfortable with getting the wax under your fingernails, whatever, you can use a small knife to do it. For me, I found it a little easier. It was a little more difficult to kind of fumble around with the knife to do the inscription, so I just used my fingernail. And again, that's just simply adding a little measure of power to them, invoking the God-Goddess energies, if you will, which brings up another point as to how those pentagrams are to be drawn. We always, in my tradition, we basically use the earth element. So the pentagram you want to draw on these would be in the invoking earth pentagram. And you can Google that. Put it up into Google, invoking earth pentagram. And you'll probably get all kinds of images and how to draw those pentagrams exactly. So, again, you can put those on the candles, which I do. So, now we have the God and Goddess set up there. Now, the other candle that's going to be on there is the northern candle. The north candle is to represent the northern portal, the north gate, and in particular, this candle is to represent the guardian of that north gate. And in our tradition, we call him Boreas, as I had mentioned in my previous video. So that candle represents him. So now we have those three candles, and as you may or may not have noticed at this point, they are in an inverted triangle. There's a lot of power to that. There's a lot of power to that particular formation. And again, you can look up that information online. There's a lot of good sources for that. At any time, I just want to break in here and tell you, any time that you find something you know, confusing, you can either ask a question in the comments section, or you are invited on Monday, Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. I do live video telecasts on witcheschat.com, so come and join us there. We'd love to have you. Love to have you. Okay, so continuing right along with the setup. Now, the next thing you're going to want to put on there okay, and this is pretty much for almost any religion, okay, where an altar is used, you'd want to keep your Witch's Bible on there. This is the one that I use, Witch's Bible by Janet Stewart Farrar, and usually just place that right there, right on the corner. Now, this is a very small altar, of course, so things kind of have to be placed very carefully, you know, so everything will balance and fit on there correctly. Next thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to stick my incense on there. And we're going to put a stick in there. And I'm going to light it too. It's always nice to have a stick of incense burning on your altar, even when you're not necessarily doing anything. If for no other reason, it kind of appeases the spirits. You know, it lets them know, the gods and goddesses of old, it lets them know that you're keeping them in your hearts, in your thoughts. You know, and of course it is a personal thing. It boils down to that. For me, I like to try and keep one burning. You know, because in actuality, oh, gods and goddesses, they know what you're thinking. They know what's in your heart. They're the ones that created all of us. But I like the symbolism. I'm steeped in symbolism. You know, so this is what I like to do. These little symbolic gestures to my deities, my gods and goddesses. So we're going to light this. Now, another thing I'm going to point out right now, since I am lighting this, whenever you're lighting anything for your altar, it's a real good idea if you just get used to this, okay? Now you can do this with the incense and the candles. You just get used to it, snuffing it out with your finger instead of blowing it out, okay? It's always been a training in my tradition to do that. Candles and incense should be snuffed instead of blown out. The theory behind that is that it just offends the fire spirits, the jinn, the genie, and other spirits that dwell in the flames. So, you know, it offends them. Now, one might say, well, gee, you know, snuffing it out, it's just as bad as putting it out with your finger. The jury's still out on that. I go with how I'm trained usually, and a large part of it I never really have questioned. So please, if somebody could comment to this, maybe offer another line of rationalization with that. You know, why it might be a good idea to snuff the flame rather than blowing it out. I've just simply accepted, well, it's going to be an offense to the fire spirits if I blow it out, rather than just kind of snuffing the flame with my finger. So that's just the way I've always done it, and that's the way I recommend it be done to all my students. So we're just about finished with setting up this beautiful little altar. Now, one other thing that I keep on there, and this is for particular operations. You really don't need to keep this on there all the time. Again, it's a symbolic gesture if you do, and makes it real nice too. It gives a nice touch, and that's just the simple chalice, the chalice of wine, the chalice that holds the cup of the wine of life, the elixir of life. That's what the symbolism is there of the wine that's used in ceremony, the cup of the wine of life, magical elixir, if you will. So we're just going to set that right there and add that to our little altar. Now, as you can see, that's really all there is to my altar. Simple, neat, and complete. And if you see my other video on the first one I made actually on this, it's not much different than what was in the other video. I added my Bible on here. But I went through last time, and all I was doing was just showing my altar to people. And in this video, I decided to take that a little bit further. Instead of just showing people, oh, my beautiful altar, I decided I would just go through step-by-step motions of setting it up and explaining it. And again, this is for the new people who are just coming to their own in witchcraft, and specifically within the Wicca religion, the Wicca practice, because we do incorporate the tools of witchcraft. And as I've said in my other videos too, I see very little difference. I'm Wicca and I'm a witch. There's no difference for me. But that's another argument entirely. Anyway, oh yes, almost forgot. Now, The only other thing with an altar is that you might have some little trinkets and whatever that you want to put on there. Things that have to do with your craft. For me, it's this beautiful little piece of cut glass that a friend of mine gave to me. And there's an angel inside there. So I keep this with me, and it's not particularly magical, but I keep it with me because, as you've also heard mentioned in my other videos, that my wife passed away in 2005. So I guess that is my little memorial to her. The little angel there. Keeps her close to my heart. Even though her spirit is everywhere, I know that. But keeps her close to my heart. So there you have it, my friends. Again, my simple little witch's altar. It's really not much. And altars, when you're first starting out, they don't necessarily have to be elaborate. As a matter of fact, I recommend, if you're just starting out, to keep them simple. If you get a mix of all kinds of energies, magical supplies and articles on top of your altar when you're first starting out, and you're getting bombarded by all these different energies, it's just going to cause you confusion. So the best thing I would suggest to the new people is just keep it simple. You know, keep your 3 candles on there, God, Goddess, North candle. Keep your Bible on there, and incense. And like I said, maybe chalice for wine, or if you don't drink wine, use grape juice to substitute. But further down the road, I mean, when you become more advanced at it, altars actually can be as elaborate as you want them to be. And when talking about advanced practitioners, the more energy that you gain from your knowledge, the more energy you're able to raise in your magical operations, the more elaborate your altar is, the more elaborate it becomes. So then all this energy actually becomes you, and you become it. It's a process. That's what it is. And again, I mean, it's a personal decision how elaborate you want your stuff to be. So again, that's really all I have to say on that. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. K-I-S-S. Somebody once told me that years ago. That's why I do this. I keep it short, simple, to the point, and also, as I mentioned in my other video, it just keeps it simple because, well, I live in a small place here. I can't have a huge altar like I'd like to, you know, or else I might just have one. But anyway, I want to confuse this with too many other things. Again, this is for the new ones, the young ones who come to the channel and they see my videos. And this is the altar. So I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial on setting up an altar. And I invite any comments, questions. Please like me if you like my videos. Please rate me if you like them that much. You want to rate me up, give me a thumbs up. Favorite my content if you like it. So, once again, just thank you for dropping by. And I just wish everybody to have a pleasant day. Peace to you, blessed be, and merry part.